And now, the general weather around Alaska.
All right, first up, hazardous weather graphics. We've got winter storm watches and winter storm warnings out for the western Arctic coast here. Point Lay down to Point Hope, Cape Lisburne, the northwest coast. And also for the Seward Peninsula here, St. Lawrence Island, Yukon Delta into the lower Yukon River Valley areas. And that's all for snow, blowing snow, gusty winds, 35 gusting 50 miles an hour, reducing visibilities. And advisory here for the eastern Norton Sound area, Unalakleet area there. And also an advisory for the North Slope there. And winter weather advisories also out here for the terrain either side of the greater Fairbanks area. And on to the south until 6 p.m. this evening, a blizzard warning remains out for Nunivak Island and the coastal areas of the Kuskokwim Delta, with winter storm warnings for the inland areas over toward Bethel. And again, that's until 6 p.m. this evening. And the next frame here, high wind warning out for later tonight through tomorrow for the greater Juneau area, looking for winds gusting to 65 miles per hour. And then up there around Skagway, Haines on up to Skagway, wind advisory. That's a wind chill advisory for cold wind chills with those gusty, strong north winds. And satellite imagery here showing mostly clear across the southeast coast today. Some clouds along the coastal areas there up to the Yakutat area. And there are heavier clouds, of course, out here to the west, moving northward and then streaming eastward and then southeastward here, bringing some thick cirrus in across Cook Inlet and the Kenai Peninsula today. Much warmer air here over the Alaska Peninsula resulted in rain, heavy at times around Cold Bay earlier today with gusty south winds and precipitation there for Unalaska. This whole area moving northward today and off to the northeast here, temperatures well below zero through the afternoon hours. In fact, staying in the minus 40s the entire day over at Fort Yukon here, and that even colder temperatures into the Northwest Territories of Canada. And rolling this through again, you can see the low center out here west of St. Paul, tracking northward there. And so not a whole lot of eastward progression yet to this front, but on the chart here, you can see something of a warm front, arguably roughly in this position here this afternoon. And to the south of that, you have the mixed precipitation or just flat out rain, especially at sea level here for the Alaska Peninsula Eastern Aleutians. Increasing snow, blowing snow and winds here for the Yukon Delta today over to about St. Lawrence Island. Otherwise, north and east, dry with increasing clearing skies as you head in that direction toward that building Arctic high over the Yukon there in the Northwest Territories. And that beginning to tighten the gradient up here over the northern panhandle, pushing the cold air southward there. Lower 20s this afternoon, right over just about 21 at Juneau this afternoon. And cold below freezing temperatures all the way down to Dixon entrance. And for tonight, you can see that that high continues to intensify and slip southward. So that really builds the gradient there across the northern panhandle. In fact, a tight gradient all across the southeast coast into the eastern interior and southeast interior particularly. So look for strong gusty east winds, say for Delta Junction, and then those high wind warnings out for the Juneau area, especially downtown Juneau and Douglas for gusts 65 miles per hour with low wind chills. And then windy but no wind chills there, Kodiak Island, Alaska Peninsula. Snow and blowing snow here across much of the western interior. And again, that area is spreading northward across the Seward Peninsula up to the northwest coast later tonight. And then behind the front, a lot less wind and more showery conditions scattering out later tonight for the eastern Aleutians, ending for Adak and Atka there. And winds diminish for the Pribilof Islands with some rain and snow shower conditions there. Next system here to the west tracks eastward tomorrow to about this position by mid-afternoon just north of the central Aleutians there, bringing another round of wind, rain, and snow with it. And very tight gradient here over the western part of the state. In fact, the entire state here has a pretty good pressure gradient across it from the strong high over Canada to the low pressure in the Bering Sea, but starting to relax a little bit here over toward the border, also over the Panhandle, starting to relax a little bit in the afternoon hours, but still quite windy conditions over much of interior Alaska, all the way down to Kodiak Island. Another system tracking northward here brings another, looks like gale force winds, rain heavy at times into the Kodiak Island, and even storm force winds into the Barren Islands and Kamishak Bay area. And that sustained 50-knot winds there, gusts 60, 65 miles an hour. So snow and blowing snow here over much of the western part of the state, and dry and cold there for the Panhandle again, as well as eastern interior. And then this system kind of washes out Thursday night and Friday, and bulk of the moisture moves across Kodiak Island, but begins to taper off during the day on Friday as the system here to the west tracks eastward to the Fox Islands there, with rain and wind all the way up in toward Bristol Bay, particularly though for the Alaska Peninsula. Snow and blowing snow continues here for the southwest part of the state, all the way up to the Bering Strait, and just grazing the Point Hope, Cape Lisburne area there. So much of the North Slope Arctic coast, eastern interior staying dry, less winds over the central and eastern part of the state there, and increasing chances of snow across southern Alaska here, especially the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound area, over to maybe Yakutat. Stays dry for the Panhandle, at least through Friday. And for lows tonight, anywhere from 25 to 45 below here over the eastern part of the state, maybe even approaching minus 50 Northway and Tok, possibly, but definitely in the minus 40s there, to minus 30 for Gulkana, and 5 to 15 south central Alaska. Markedly warmer out to the Yukon Delta coast, lower 30s there, as well as the Aleutians. Lows anywhere from lower 30s to lower 40s, at 41 for Sand Point, lower 32 for King Salmon for the low. And for the southeast coast, we've got 5 below to 5 above in the northern areas, otherwise 10 to 15 for the lows elsewhere. And for the highs tomorrow, a little milder here, but still below zero for the eastern part of the state. You can see temperatures contrasted markedly from west to east here. Got upper 30s to lower 40s for Bristol Bay, near 40 Kodiak Island, slightly above freezing there for the Nome area, and right around freezing for St. Lawrence Island, and 10 to 15 for the highs over the northern Panhandle, near 20 to the south. Sitka looking at 25 for the high, 43 for the high for Sand Point, and the lows staying at least a little bit milder, but still 25 to 40 below for the eastern part of the state, near 30 out to the west, and 5 to 10 below eastern Arctic coast, milder to the west there, Point Lay at 25, and 5 below to 5 above for the northern Panhandle, with other areas about 5 to 10, so pretty cold temperatures there continue into the afternoon, with many areas staying under 20 degrees, especially in the north there for the southeast coast. Highs 15 below to 30 below for the eastern interior, 30 to 35 out toward the Arctic coast, 35 to 40 for Bristol Bay, near 40 Kodiak, lower 30 or mid 30s for the area Anchor Point to Seldovia there, in the 20s for the remainder of south central Alaska, and 40 to 43 for the Alaska Peninsula.